everybody. In this video, I'm going to go over my preview and predictions for Week 20. Cannot believe we're in the second last week of this 2022 CFL season, but really looking forward to making my picks. And if you want to support the channel in any way, be sure to hit a like down below. Takes 1 second, makes a massive difference. And with that said, let's get started with preview for this week. So the first game we're going to talk about here is Ottawa at Hamilton. And obviously, this is a do-or-die game for both of these teams, really. Hamilton actually could still potentially make the playoffs if they lose this game, but Ottawa is eliminated officially with a loss. And going into Tim Hortons Field, where the Tiger Cats are 5-3 this season in comparison to their 1-7 road record. They're coming off their first road win of the season, actually, last week in Calgary. So, big momentum shift in favor of the Tiger Cats the last couple of weeks. And for Ottawa, I think, it's all about building for next year, even though if you win these next two games and Saskatchewan loses their last two games as well, you do make the playoffs. But that is the only remaining scenario for them to make the playoffs. So very interested to see if they can pull it together in this game. And, if Nick Arbuckle can continue playing at a high level. He's playing pretty much like the highest end I think you can expect Nick Arbuckle to play. He's going to be efficient, high completion percentage player, but not a ton of plays down the field, not a lot of explosive plays for this offense, but I think he's doing some good stuff with the receivers they have around him. And then for Dane Evans, I think, that drive last week gives him so much confidence going forward because, those are the type of moments that have been going against this Tiger Cats team all of the season. So, ultimately, I think Hamilton's defense is playing super well right now. They usually play well at home. I don't expect a letdown game here. I think it's going to be their third consecutive win, and I'm going to take the Tiger Cats in this one. Okay, now for the second game of Week 20 in the CFL with the BC Lions visiting the Edmonton Elks. And what else can you say but the Elks have their last opportunity to avoid going winless this season at home. So, huge opportunity for them in this game. They're playing a Lions squad that, has beaten them the last couple of times pretty badly. But at the same time, looking back, that were matchups that Nathan Rourke was playing in. So I like BC's opportunities to win this game again. But I think with Trey Ford being a wild card starting at quarterback for the Elks, I think that gives them some, hope that they can eventually pull this out and, surprise BC in this game. But the Lions ultimately, I think they just have too much on the line in this one because if they win the game, they are officially hosting that West semifinal against Calgary. And I think that's going to be huge for them not having to go out into the elements and play at McMahon Stadium in November. So, I think they're going to be motivated to get this W and officially lock that up for the playoffs and, get a game next week where it's, they can rest some guys and potentially get Nathan Rourke back in the lineup. That's big news coming out of the CFL this week. I think that is going to be a big motivation for the Lions to get the W in this one, and I think they'll do it. Now on to perhaps the most interesting game of Week 20 in the CFL, where the Toronto Argonauts play against the Montreal Alouettes at Percival Molson Stadium in Montreal. And the Montreal Alouettes still have an opportunity if they win these last two games, because these two teams are playing back-to-back weeks here. If they win these last two games, they claim first place in the East Division. It's not going to be easy because it is very hard to win back-to-back games against an opponent in the CFL, regardless of who it is. But I do think the Alouettes have some, advantages in this matchup. At least I thought them going into the season. I thought with a healthy William Stanback at the beginning of the season and the way that offense was operating then, I thought that the Alouettes actually had a matchup advantage against the Toronto Argonauts. I think Hamilton is a team that matches up against Montreal pretty well in terms of stopping the run, but I thought Toronto going into the year at least, I don't know if the statistics really bear it out, but, I think that, they weren't the greatest run defense team last year. So going into the year, I definitely would have picked Montreal to win this matchup, and I had Montreal finishing first in the East at the beginning of the season. But in this particular game, it's a weird thing in the CFL this year. There's not a lot of teams that have been great at home. And the Alouettes have been a team that I think has played better on the road. I mean, obviously beating Winnipeg on the road. So I think that some weird things have happened this year for the Alouettes. They've lost both home games to the Red Blacks as well. So no guarantees that having home field advantage in this one actually benefits the Alouettes too much. And then for Toronto, I mean, all of it comes down to McLeod Bethel Thompson. If you can get two consistent halves or even one really great half out of him, like he did last week, I think you give your team a very good chance of winning. I think Toronto just overall is the most talented team in the East Division, but I think the Alouettes are not too far behind. I think they are the second most talented team in the East Division. So at the end of the day, I think I'm going to go with the Argos to win this game just because I don't trust Montreal to pull one out at home when they really should. I just think it's going to be kind of a letdown game, and they're going to be, relegated to being the second place team in the East Division. So that's who I'm going to go with in this one, the Toronto Argonauts. And now finally the last game of Week 20 with the Calgary Stampeders visiting the Saskatchewan Roughriders here. And for this game, the scenarios are simple. So the Stampeders, if they lose, they may actually know by the time that they play in this game, because a BC win would also do this. If they lose this game, they're guaranteed to finish third in the West Division. If they win, it depends on if BC drops a game to Edmonton, but they need BC to lose both of their last two games and for them to win their last two games in order to gain second place in the West Division. So it looks unlikely at this time, but BC losing on Friday night could do a lot for their motivation to play a lot of their starters deep into this game, and motivate them to win this game. So I think that is a crucial element to watch out for in terms of Friday night football leading into this one. But then for Saskatchewan, as do or die as it gets, really, they need to win these last two games and hope Hamilton at least loses one of them, or they win one and Hamilton loses two. So they need to finish above Hamilton in the standings. And Mason Fine going to be getting the start for them in this one. His first career CFL start. Don't know if this is a great position for him to be in, just because of what Calgary can do defensively, and the fact that there's just so much pressure for this game. They're hosting the Grey Cup this year. If they can find a way to sneak into the playoffs, I mean, it doesn't look likely at this point. It would be huge for that fan base to kind of get rejuvenated after what's been a really tough year. But at the end of the day, I think Calgary should be able to win this game with Mason Fine at quarterback. I don't think that the Stampeders want to be rolling into the playoffs with losing 3 straight games. They lost a very disappointing game against Hamilton last week, so I think they're going to probably rest their starters next week, assuming that they're locked into third place. But I think they're going to really try to win this game, get back on the right track, and not back out into the playoffs with 3 straight losses. So I'm going to take the Stampeders to win this Week 20 finale. But with that said, those are just my predictions for Week 20 in the CFL. Be sure to let me know yours down below. Hope you guys enjoy the games. See you guys next time. Peace.